Good afternoon and welcome everybody to Yosemite Sugar Pine RR. My name is Rick and I'll be your conductor for today's trip. Now, all of the equipment you'll see on the spur line in front of you, including the snowplow, the tanker car, the dump truck, the rest of the rolling stock, the two steam locomotives we run up here, and even the equipment you're riding on today was all purchased from the Westside Lumber Company in Tuolumne, California. Tuolumne is located about 100 miles to the north of us here, and they were still using steam locomotives in their operation into the 1960s. The Madera Sugar Pine Lumber Company was the largest and most profitable of the companies up here. They went in business from 1899 to 1931. In 1931, when they ceased operation, they picked up their track, scrapped all of their equipment, and we brought this equipment down to Tuolumne and relayed it over the original road they had used from 1908 to 1924. Now, if you look out across the canyon out there, the furthest mountain out you see is Mount Raymond. Mount Raymond is at an elevation of 8,500 feet, and the California Lumber Company in 1874 was the first logging company up here in the southern Sierras. They would log up to the tree line that you see, load the rail cars, bring them back down these lines, back down to the canyon below into the mill at Sugar Pine. And for over 60 years, all of the logging companies up here completely cleared up the forest without ever replanting a single tree. So all of the trees you see up here today are a result of the natural reseeding of the few remaining trees, and that does make this a very young forest. Average age being just under 100 years. The first tree we'll talk about today is the incense cedar. The incense cedar has the flat, segmented leaves, and its mature bark looks very similar to a California redwood. You might notice that the bark on some of the cedar trees is black. It looks like it's been in a fire. That's actually a black powder fungus that grows on the tree due to lack of sunlight. It doesn't seem to affect the health of the tree or the quality of the wood. Another tree very common up here is the white fir. The white fir has the 1-inch evenly spaced needles and parallel branches. The white fir is related to the red fir and the Douglas fir, and is sometimes called the Christmas tree. This corner we're approaching here is called Horseshoe Curve. In 1908, a group of Chinese laborers started digging this corner out by hand. Using picks and shovels, they would load wagons full of horses and mules. To get an idea as to how much dirt they actually moved, all of the dirt on the inside of this corner came from this trail bed. The ferns that be growing on both sides of the track are called bracket ferns. The bracket fern is the only variety of fern that grows at this elevation, and Native Americans used to eat the young shoots of the bracket. The older shoots they would make baskets out of, and from the root system they would get a black dye. California black oak is the only oak tree that grows at this elevation. The black oak has a leaf very similar to a maple leaf. And in the fall, there's an acorn that grows on that tree that the Native Americans used to harvest. They would grind up that acorn, soak it in the river to remove the tannic acid, dry it out, and the resulting flour became a staple of their diet. Two pine trees very common up here are the sugar pine and the ponderosa pine. A couple of ways to tell those trees apart. The sugar pine has needle thick growth 2 to 3 inches long, while the ponderosa pine has needle thick growth 8 to 10 inches long. Those needles also grow in clusters. On the sugar pine, they grow in clusters of 5, while on the ponderosa pine, they grow in clusters of 3. And the sugar pine also produces the largest pine cone in the world. It grows anywhere from 10 to 26 inches in length. And when it's green, full of sap and hanging in the tree, it can weigh upwards of 4 pounds. No wonder the lumbermen up here called it no widowmaker. The ground cover you see right in front of you is called bear clover. Lumbermen had another name for bear clover because it has a very oily leaf and a smell that's extremely difficult to remove from their clothing. So they referred to it as mountain misery. Native Americans had another use for bear clover. They would harvest the leaves. They could tea out of that. They drank the tea to relieve aches, pains, and fevers. Today we know that leaf has a high concentration of salicylic acid, which is the active ingredient in aspirin. The Madera Sugar Pine Lumber Company used about 140 miles of track up in these canyons. They run that track out from the mill at Sugar Pine looks like spokes on a bicycle wheel. They run those spokes in lengths of about 15 to 25 miles each. When they were finished walking in one direction, they simply pick up their track, move it in a new direction, and start walking again. Now the road bed you see below us on the right was the last line used by the Madera Sugar Pine Lumber Company from 1928 to 1931. In 1931, when they ceased operation, they picked up the track, and that became an access road for the U.S. Forest Service. That is, in fact, what has happened to most of the abandoned railbeds throughout the rail system. Now, the bushes you see on both sides of the track with the smooth maroon bark is called manzanita. Manzanita is Spanish for little apple, and in the summertime there's a little red berry that grows on that bush that the Native Americans used to harvest and make a cider drink out of. It's also a favorite food of the California black bear and the mule deer. The Madera Sugar Pine Lumber Company employed a workforce in these canyons of about 800 men. Those men using axes and hand-cut saws alone could harvest about 80 flat cars of lumber a day. Over the course of a year, that was about 50 million board feet. Over the life of the operation, that was about 1.5 billion board feet of lumber. If that lumber were laid end to end, it would encircle the earth more than 10 times. As you might expect, the work was hard and the days were long. Common labor can expect to work 6 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day, for 10 cents an hour, plus room and board. Skilled labor like carpenters and engineers would get about 30 cents an hour, and lumberjacks worked by the tree. The more they cut, the more they earned. Once the wood was cut up there, it was loaded on rail lines, taken back down to the mill at Sugar Pine, and offloaded in the holding ponds. When the wood was retrieved from those ponds, it was stripped of its bark, given a love cut, placed in piles about 14 inches high, climbed on both ends with a metal plant, and dropped into a wooden flume. That wooden flume was a V-shaped drop about 3 feet wide, 3 feet deep, elevated on trestles, sometimes more than 100 feet in the air, and filled with water. It ran 54 miles from the mill at Sugar Pine to the finishing mill at Madera. That 54-mile run was the longest flume in the world at its time, and it took a little over 2 years to construct. Once the wood reached the finishing mill at Madera, it was given a final cut, loaded on rail lines, and shipped to a worldwide market. Stationed all along the side of the flume was a group of men called flume herders. They had the most dangerous occupation in the lumber business. It was their job to walk a plank about 12 inches wide, nailed to the side of the flume, and make sure the wood kept moving downstream. There weren't any benefits offered to the employees up here, with the exception of a flume boat ride. A flume boat was nothing more than a couple of pieces of wood nailed together. There were no seats and no handholds. They would simply kneel or stand to take off for Madera. The only drawback was the grade was so steep leaving the mill that they would reach speeds of 50 miles an hour. These cars we're riding on today are Model 8 Fords. They were used quite extensively in the rail and the lumber business to transport labor and materials up and down these lines. Some of these cars were converted to ambulances, others were converted to fire construction to follow behind the steam locomotive to put out the little stop fire. These cars in their day got the name speeders. They got that name because they can go up and down these lines at about 25 miles an hour, while the steam train was going up and down the same line about 5 miles an hour. We're now going to be entering Lewis Canyon. We're going to cross over the West Fork of the Lewis Creek, which was one of 5 bodies of water that fed the mill at Sugar Pine. We're going to be going up at 9% grade before we arrive at the camping ground, where we'll have a few moments to get out, stretch our legs, and enjoy the sights and sounds here in the National Forest. I do need to remind you we are in a National Forest, and as such, it is against the law to remove anything from the ground. When we get back to the car after our short little break, I do suggest we sit on the other side of the car and turn back up the hill, and we can do get to see both sides of the train.